Are you also looking for ways to cut costs? As a manufacturing company, on average, a bit more than half of all the expenses you have to create your product will be raw materials, and this includes energy. And this was before the price of raw materials and energy went through the roof. Did you know that on a global scale, we use more than 100 billion tons of raw materials every year? And just 8.6% of that is actually used more than once. And when we then do reuse these materials, it's at a significantly lower financial and material value. And let me add another dimension to it. A significant proportion of what you buy as an input to making the product does not actually end up in a product you sell. It may be called waste or byproducts or excess materials or just materials you need to enhance the production or whatever you want to call it. But I think we should call it what it is: wasted resources. Some are of course inevitable, but others are not. And those that are inevitable, very often they can be utilized at a better level for a higher value than what you do today, where you normally would pay somebody to come and pick it up, labeled as a waste. The question is, have you ever done the math for your company? Simply gather the data on how many kilograms of input that goes into producing the products you make, and how many kilograms that comes out in actual products that you sell. Let me warn you, this can be a brutal exercise because there's no way to hide in these data. Let's say you have 1,000 kilograms of materials that go into your production, and 700 of these end in a finished product that you sell to a customer. That leaves you with 300 kilograms of wasted materials. And those 30% have a direct impact on your bottom line and on the impact you leave on the world. I will now share with you a simple 5-step method for how to deal with this. This is something you would normally only get if you're part of the program I run about how to make your company more profitable through sustainability. But if you follow these 5 steps and actually implement it, it will make you save money, and it will at the same time reduce your negative impact on the world around you. Okay, so here we go. Step number 1, that's the overview. This is where you do a rough mass balance on the input versus the output. And remember, it's way better to get a good picture tomorrow than a full and perfect picture in 2 months' time. Step number 2 is to add the 80-20 rule here to figure out where is it that you spend most of your money. You can do a similar exercise, but looking at it from an environmental point of view. What are 20% of your raw materials that's responsible for 80% of the impact your business has? Step number 3 is to divide between the productive waste and the non-productive waste. And here you of course have a starting point in the 20% you just discovered in the step before. So productive waste could be things like lubricants or energy or cooling water. Non-productive waste, on the other hand, could be corners you need to cut off a square board to make round objects. It could be overproduction of parts or full products, or it could be products that do not meet your quality standards. So these first 3 steps will leave you with a clear overview of what's important and what amounts you're actually talking about. The next 2 steps is the solution steps. So step number 4 is where you apply the circular business mindset, and do that to find ways where you can minimize the waste and maximize the value of the materials that you actually have as surplus material. Odds are that you're not 100% clear on what the circular economy is, and that you don't feel like you fully master it as a tool you can apply. So let me just give you 3 simple questions in plain English that encapsulates the core of the circular economy for the purpose of this exercise. The first question is, what will it take for us to produce more with less? Question number 2 is, what would it take for us to make sure that the materials can be used more than once, either by ourselves or after it's been used by our clients. And question number 3, how can we make sure that once we produce a product, it's actually utilized to the maximum of its capacity? And that little question there, you can also apply that for your manufacturing equipment, your buildings, and the whole logistics around your production. Step number 5 is deciding on what can you do right now and what needs additional funding or research or innovation or other things that can either slow down or demand time and resources of you. And then make a plan on a page, and I mean one page, so that everyone can see what needs to be done by whom and when. And then start acting. That's it. That's the 5-step model. If you follow this, it can save you massive amounts of money. And in this current crisis around energy and raw materials that we're facing, this can mean the difference between black and red numbers in your P&L. If you feel you need a little more insight into the mindset and the methods behind the circular economy for you to really utilize this, then just go to your browser and look me up, look for Jasper Steinhausen, find my LinkedIn profile, and then just jump on to my newsletter. In there you will find articles both on the mindset, on unfolding the circular economy, and the steps of how you can map all of this. Happy hunting!